Monday, October 21st, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So it looks like silver could be pointing to a resumption of the precious metals bull market. We've had a consolidation for a while here in gold, around 1500. Lately, it hasn't been able to get above 1500, but looking at silver this morning here in London, it looks like it's making a move. I know it's just one day's move, but I want to look at the gold-silver ratio. And after that, I want to talk about central bankers' sophistry. And what is sophistry? Well, sophistry is the use of clever but false arguments, especially with the intention of deceiving. And I just saw a clip, a story about Christine Lagarde, who's going to be the new president of the ECB as of the 1st of November. And she was on 60 Minutes on CBS in the US. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched a clip. And she said that low unemployment causes inflation, basically. That's her argument. That's the argument that central bankers make, and I'll come to that after I look here at the gold-silver ratio. Many of you might not know, historically, in precious metals bull markets, silver always outperforms gold. So the gold-silver ratio, the lower that ratio is, the more outperformance silver is having as it pertains to gold. Historically, of course, the ratio between gold and silver going back hundreds of years is around 15 or 16 to 1. Recently, we've been up to almost 94, which was very high. I'll show you a long-term chart here going back to the early 90s, and in the last 20 years, 80 was a very key level here. Every time the ratio got to 80, it meant that we're near a bottom in the precious metals, and then a drop in the gold-silver ratio meant that we're seeing a nice rally in precious metals. But recently, as you see, that gold-silver ratio broke through that 80 level, and now it looks like we've put a top on it. Long-term, this is a long-term chart. We still need to break back below 80. Right now we're around 84. I'll show you a shorter-term chart right now. You can see here we're just above 84, but it looks like we could be breaking a key trend line here, and we could be going lower, which is encouraging for precious metals in terms of fiat price. As I've said before, people need to accumulate precious metals. In my opinion, that's what I do for the long term, as protection, as saving. But for those who want to trade, for those who want to know where things are, this is where I think they are. So what about Christine Lagarde and her sophistry? Well, it's not only her, and she's not even an economist. She was trained as a lawyer, but she's been head of the IMF, an institution that, can I say, indebts other nations, third world nations. That's what they've been doing for 70 years. IMF, being from Brazil, I know that the IMF is very unpopular in Brazil, also Argentina. They keep lending money to these countries, money to corrupt politicians. And the people always end up being lumbered with the debt and having to pay for it. And then the foreign corporations come in and buy real tangible assets from those countries for pennies on the dollar. And I think that's what is being done right now to the Western world. This is a IMF at a huge scale, and it's going to be done to the US. This is what this pumping of this credit bubble is all about, I think. So to hear Christine Lagarde come out with rubbish like this, she told the reporter, the guy who was questioning her on 60 Minutes, that once you get to 3.7% unemployment, you have to be careful. If it drops too much, you're going to get rising prices. Well, that's a total rubbish because inflation is a monetary phenomena. It's created by central bankers, right? If you go and the easy way to like disprove her, and too bad that guy questioning her didn't know anything about economics, because I would have like asked her, well, that's not, unemployment's got nothing to do with inflation. If you go back to how money started, before there was money, of course, there was barter, right? So in barter, you exchange something of value for something else of value. The only problem with barter is that sometimes you can't match things up. But there's no inflation in barter because you're changing value for value. You only get inflation when there is a developed monetary system and the authorities, i.e. the government, hijacks that system and starts creating false, fraudulent money. Then people who produce value and want value in exchange, they twig onto that and they devalue the money. It's got nothing to do with too many people at work. And the other thing I would say to Christine Lagarde, look at how many millions and millions, well, almost 100 million Americans are out of the workforce. That 3.7% unemployment rate is not reflective of the employment situation, right? So yeah, total sophistry. She talks about how central bankers are irrational and they have to be left alone, right? How can they be rational? They've created trillions and trillions of dollars of credit out of thin air in the last 11 years. They've set rates at negative rates, which is even Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, the other day said negative rates are irrational. So here she is, going to be head of the ECB. If she thinks central bankers are rational, she should put the ECB rate right back up to above zero, right? Because it's irrational. So don't listen to this woman. She's full of it, I would say. And she's putting the blame on the wrong things. Employment doesn't cause inflation, right? It's too much money and credit that causes inflation. Government borrowing, government spending, deficit spending, right? Central bankers helping the governments. The other thing she says, President Trump shouldn't interfere with the Fed. Well, anyway, I don't think there should be a central bank, but aside from that, she's a hypocrite because she's been interfering now in fiscal policy. Recently, she said that the European countries that are part of the euro should start deficit spending because they need help, the economies, right? So what is it going to be, Miss Lagarde? Yeah, you want central bankers' independence, so leave the fiscal policy alone to the government and politicians, right? So you can't have both. You can't have one and the other. You can't have your cake and eat it. So that was my gripe here about Christine Lagarde this morning. Of course, she's part of the globalist clique, right? She's Keynesian. So there you go. So let's look at the markets. Right now it's 7:36 a.m. London. And so we've got spot gold up $1 at 14.91. Range has been 14.89 to 14.93.78. Silver, as I said, is outperforming this morning. We're off the highs here. We're up 15 cents though, almost up 1%. So is this going to be the start of a move? Who knows? It could be though. So 1770 right now, up 15 cents. The Dow is up 77 at 26,845. That's up 0.25%. S&P is up 1/3 or up 9 points at 29.94. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 1/3 as well at 78.91. The pound is quite choppy. It's been quite volatile over the weekend. It's traded, there's been a weekend market. It's been down as much as 1% over the weekend. Right now, it's down just 0.25% at 129.37. I won't go into Brexit right now, but It's just very uncertain. That's all you need to know. The euro is unchanged basically at 111.60. The dollar is up slightly against the yen, 108.51. Dollar is unchanged against the yuan at 707. WTI crude unchanged, 53.88. Brent crude down slightly at 59.10. Bond market. 10-year yield is up a couple of basis points at 177, and the 2-year is up 1 basis point at 159. So there you go. Gold silver ratio looking encouraging. I know many of you feel that precious metals will never do what it's supposed to do because of manipulation, but I don't think we should think like that. Even though I do get frustrated sometimes as well. This is what they want you to feel like. They don't want you to be in precious metals. So they do these shenanigans with the markets. But just think about where we are right now, just around 1500. And that just over 12 months ago, we were at 1160. So yeah, just hold on, be patient. The other thing I would say, don't listen to people like Lagarde. She's a shill for the central bankers and the globalists, and she's spouting rubbish out of her mouth about unemployment causing inflation, right? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share it far and wide. We want people to be warned about these things that are not talked about on CNBC or on Bloomberg, and when they are talked about on those mainstream media outlets, the people who talk like me or come out with the truth, they're never brought back, right? So you need to keep sharing this. If you're not a subscriber yet, think about subscribing. You can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.